So let's kind of dig into here and see what we got from our image results here. Meow. Okay, cool. And yeah, and I see what I was tagged up on here was AC digging into image prompting. This is so cool to see, by the way. Just to see this stuff all kind of like fleshing out. And folks just playing around with like original characters and seeing them through multiple prompts is super cool. So I'm just gonna scroll us back to, oh, look at the cute little cat boys in their hand. Oh.
All
Anyway,
right.
right, yeah. There's some fun stuff with that. Um, but let's see. I would love to have a recap of the YouTube video. Basic. This is from Max. I just joined 5 minutes ago, and this is super interesting to me. How do we even get to generate images where there's multiple panels and injections? Okay, yeah. Let's just start there. That sounds like a good point. So a lot of times when you're prompting stuff for Midjourney, it can be like just ask it for what you want. You know what I mean? Which is why my prompt says funny webcomic. You could literally just write like I'll come down into here. You could just write I want a webcomic. And what's going to happen is it may or may not generate panels for us, but what it will do is start to like dig into other things that are tagged as like a webcomic, right? And we probably will not find panels right off the bat, but what we will start to see is like the beginnings of like maybe some concept art for a story. So let me pop over to here and open this up here. So you see that we you could take any one of these results and actually expand on them, create them into entire worlds to explore, but we're not getting any panels, right? So if I add the word funny webcomic, the thing is that this is just a guess, okay? It's just a guess, but the reason I went with funny is just because when you think of a bunch of people who are looking at like different comics or different images online, and if they actually laugh at it, they're going to describe it as a funny thing, right? So when I do, uh, yeah, let's open this one up here. When I say funny, suddenly look what we have. We have full comics generated by Midjourney, and we gave it no direction. We just told it, I want it to be funny. And I mean, honestly, it is. Like all these results are goofy. And they're goofy in ways that we would expect them to be goofy. I mean, look, we have okay. I love the fourth one here. I should have prompted this in VC chat or VC
That's
create,
odd
but
that there's a punchline.
yes, right. So like let's open this one up here a little closer here. You could easily do like, where did the remote go? Oh, the couch monster has it. Like this. You could just be the guy that lives in your couch. It steals all your stuff. These are the dumb ideas that I think work really well with this. But it's just from adding the word funny, y'all. Like if you just add the word funny, suddenly we get complete panels. I don't understand exactly why, but that's my guess. Um, but I'm going to actually go into.
You should make a tragic web panel.
You're right. Yeah, we'll try different like descriptors to go on it, because that's really where you start actually controlling the images here. But I think I want to have a little bit of fun here first. And I'm going to go to VC Create. Okay. And I'm just going to have it generate like a bunch of comics all at once. And then you guys can spin off of it as you want. So, like, if I do imagine and then funny webcomic, repeat 10. Yes. So with the repeat function, you can basically get a bunch of stuff working all, like run the same prompt a bunch of times. It's a bit dangerous on your account, right? So you have to be aware of that. But let's watch an entire graphic novel series get born right in front of us here, of just random comics from Midjourney. Um, and this could be enough for you to start spinning off and doing your own things, right? But you might be wondering, like, when you look at all these, like, and I'm not going to like immediately dig into them one by one. I just want to emphasize here the diversity that you get just by asking for a webcomic. But I I want you guys just over while I'm talking to kind of look through these and see if there's any ones that like you, if you like them, upres them. If you upres them, then we can expand on it. That'll be fun. Um, but the thing is that we have we tend to get some pretty clean looking results. Interesting how you explore into one specific world slash comic from Max, and then Ancient says, "My guess it would come from newspaper comics being the funny pages." Yeah, right.
Mm.
Yeah, there you go. Like we were saying, like last week, like the funny pages is something I miss tremendously in my life. Like I have comics, I have Reddit, for consuming that stuff, but I miss having it. I miss owning
What's
it,
your
you
favorite?
know? Right? I miss actually like holding on to it and being like, "Oh, I got this great comic. It's in the back of this, this specific whatever." And in newspapers, they don't last. Like you have to preserve them really well in order for them to like be a thing that like you put them in a frame or whatever, like what, people do with like the world, the war's over kind of newspaper articles and stuff. Um the I definitely want to I definitely want to own things again. So it is fun to be able to like dig into these kind of web comics here because like these are personal things you can print out, own, and like and just have it and be this like kind of like I don't know what's going on in some of these. The ones you guys are picking are really funny to me. Like I have no idea what sort of Star Wars joke this is, but this is definitely a Star Wars joke in the making here. Zaf says, "I've always felt that newspapers are made out of slightly compressed dust." Yes, yeah, they are. They are. They're very brittle. They're not meant to last the test of time. You could, so I highly recommend it if you really want to celebrate these like art pieces or comics or anything that you like, especially from smaller artists. Email them, message them, do anything to tell them how much you appreciated it, and even more so, buy something from them. Like that's really where you show your true appreciation is by like trying to make it a reality by owning it. You know what I mean? Like so that's why I miss the funny pages. But let's kind of dig into some of these here. And okay, I love this one. Anyone that involves like a deathly guy in a robe, I am so much more into. Like there's just something fun about this. Um, but when it comes to like so like I definitely would love to see you guys also like hit reply on some of these and put like quote text, like what you would think would be said in some of these. But we haven't done any sort of in painting, obviously. We haven't actually started to dig into the lesson plan for today. But this makes me laugh. This already makes me laugh because because we could reorder the panels in different ways. Like this one could be the first one instead of this one. That's pretty easy to do. But there's just a lot of potential in these wide two panels because it means that we can come in paint all sorts of different context into this. Based on your all's replies, I'll probably in paint one of them based on that. And it's like for this one, it's like, look, we replace those little bush or tree that it generated here, replace that with like a bird that you set free, and it's just like, I love nature, and then just the hawk takes the bird, you know what I mean, or something like that. Like just I'm a big fan of dark humor, so I apologize, but um, so the Zap says, I found an artist that did some great illustrations for the Call of Cthulhu books, and I got some thick postcards of his. Great stuff. Awesome. That's great. I really dig any sort of like physical print media because it's really not that expensive to do, right? And it's a great way to support creatives is just to get some little token thing. Postcards are a great one. Um, and yeah, whatever is about this mummy run here, I love it too. That's so funny. So while we're kind of digging into this, because I literally just posted a generic webcomic like prompt, right? You guys keep digging into the ones you like here, but I want to show you guys like if we do imagine a funny webcomic, but here's the deal, okay? We have to actually have direction here for it to be a real like okay, because I definitely qualify art differently than a lot of the people I would say even here. Like I don't think generated imagery is art. I think it's imagery, and it's not art until it's been transformed by a human being. And so we have to transform these, and in painting is a transformation. So that suddenly digs us into a lot more humanly expression and control than we had before. This giant meatball here is just making it's distracting the hell out of me right now. But so let's go ahead and try to give some context here and direction for this funny web comic.
Do you want me
Um,
to granola bar again?
no, no, I had cereal. I'm good. The my wife was like, "All right, you're gonna go live in 15 minutes. Have you eaten anything?" And I'm like, no, I'm fine though." And then she's like, "Cereal?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine. Yes, I'll eat some cereal. Let's go."
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. I take care of myself. Okay. But we have to give this comic context here in order to really feel like it's our own. Because right now we're just kind of re-rolling through random results, and this is a great way to explore ideas, right? But it's not really me. It's not really Sage. It's not really giving expression. So for Sage, I tend to want to I know that I want the character to be a female, and I know that I want it to be some sort of kind of slice of life space, right? So it's going to be an office space, or it's going to be walking the town, or something like that. But let's try something a little bit more interesting here. Um, so I have a particularly favorite word only prompt that is uh, Kermit the Frog as the Undertaker. Um, so the thing about this, and then I have to say, no hat. If I combine all this is from my tutorial, but if I combine all this and then I put repeat 10 on here, is yes, there is an A in there. Okay. Just keep in mind if you guys are prompting inside of VC Create, you have to have the letter A somewhere in your prompt, and it just has to do with some theming restrictions. So um, I'm quickly going to run 10 Kermit the Frog as the Undertaker prompts, and we'll see what we get out of here. The reason why I like this is because this is one of the most continuous characters I've gotten with word only prompts. Okay. You have what effectively is like a long faced green character without the what is it without the without doing any sort of image injection. So we lost a bunch of web comics here. We definitely lost it from the funny web comic side of it, and I'll show you guys how we get that back. But I just wanted to kind of show that sometimes you can get away with just doing word only prompts. So we always have a character with a green face and a robe on of some sort. Okay, so that's fun. And a lost comic. Yes, so I have tried to do lost comics. I will say I got a really fun one with an old man that it was more like loss and death, right? So you're going to see a lot of cemeteries, a lot of tombstones. Um, y it's actually probably better to name the actual artist on that one. I don't like doing that normally, but like if you're going to make a lost comic, you probably want it to like either you're doing an image injection of an existing lost comic trying to recreate that format, or you're actually referring to the penny arcade. So Art Greco was an accidental extreme reliable character back in V3. Yeah, that's awesome. For some reason Art Greco, that makes me think of like Gex, like the this really awkward video game character, Gex Lizard. I don't know why, but it just reminds me of this dude. Just that name. So if we can get Gex to come back, in every cringy way that he is, that would be great because of you guys. Okay. But yeah, look at this. The comics you guys are making are awesome. There's already like so much potential just from the stuff you guys are prompting here. I mean, this is basically a Pepe meme, honestly. Like the top right is basically like the foundations of a Pepe meme. So if we now, oh god, all some of these are nightmare fuel too. Like this is great. This is fantastic. So I want to show you if we now go into here and then say funny webcomic, and then Kermit. I'll just pull this up again. What it was before here. Okay, funny webcomic, Kermit the Frog, Undertaker, no hat, repeat. Now I'm gonna lower. I'm not gonna use the repeat again. But what I will do, however, is I'm gonna put in a weight on webcomic of 3, just to kind of emphasize here, and I'll switch to a different window so it's a bit easier to see exactly what I'm doing here. Let's see here. Okay. So you notice that if I put the weight on webcomic to much higher, suddenly we have the comic format again. And this is answering Max's question. How do we get comic panels? Is that we can just ask for them by putting an additional weight, or doing how this is being done here on the next prompt here, just by splitting them. So you ask for a webcomic and then colon colon, and then you put in the rest of your prompt. So the thing about this is that, like, some of these that you guys are making are amazing. Like, all right off the bat, I'm enjoying a handful of these. But by putting the image weight, or sorry, the prompt weight higher on webcomic, what you're doing is you're forcing the 4 panel meta into the into Midjourney. So the idea here is that we can just kind of like deep dive into these and then find the ones that we like, and then fix all the problem parts of it all inside of Midjourney. And then whatever we can't do, we'll fix traditionally, right? The first one here, though, I'm gonna, anything that has to do with like angelic stuff, I kind of gravitate towards for some reason. But this one here, I think, is kind of funny because it could be like, uh, just make like Lord help me kind of stuff, and he's like, I don't feel like it, and he's like, what? But why? Like, just something like that seems to work really well for me on this particular one. But little jokes like that are inspired based on the generated imagery that we get back. So I see some folks have already experimented with the in painting, which is great. Yeah, see, they're the in painting an eagle, and it just put his face on it for some, or just a face on it. That's nightmare fuel on its own, right? But we can also continue these comics as well. But let's kind of dig into the in painting really quick, and we can see which ones kind of work here. So, for example, we'll do this one here, and the reason why is because I feel like I can quickly fix one or two things and tell a bit of a story here. So, like, let's go ahead and open this one up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the button Vary Region, which is the new in painting option that's available. So, whatever parts we want to include, we can basically just highlight over them and change them. So, for example, say like, they're playing like maybe with a baseball over here. So we'll just highlight this area here and then add baseball to the end. And we can also just change the wording entirely and not include anything about a funny webcomic. But in my experience, at least keeping the word webcomic in there helps with the context of the image. It makes it so that there's less likely that the background changes color or anything like that. So title, never buy pets online. Yeah. The monster one for sure. That's great. But now I'm gonna open this one up here, and we're gonna see, look, the top right one, we got a ball. We got a ball in the frame there. And I could keep re-rolling this, but I'm going to what is it? I'm gonna continue this one here. So let's go ahead and upres that one. Oh God, you guys are making comics so quick, I can't catch them up sometimes. That's amazing. Okay, so let's grab this one here. And now let's take a closer look. Even though it's not a baseball, I could easily change that in Photoshop or any other image program to change that into a baseball. But I want to just kind of continue the story here. So let's say that this is it's a kid with his dad. This is what's amazing about this, is that, like, you can clearly tell that it's like, look, these are derivatives of each other. It's just they gave him a mustache to make him the dad. And that's all based on patterns. It's all based on the patterns that are common inside of comics and stuff. So let's go ahead and make the second panel usable. And you notice that we have basically a repeating frame here between these two. So what we're gonna do is, at least how I'm gonna do it, is I'm gonna hit vary region again, because you can keep doing this. You can keep in painting. Now, granted, every time you do this, there's a little. I think there's a little bit of degradation that happens, but for the number of times that we have to do it here, it's not a big deal. So let's have him. Let's just say funny webcomic, and then say uh, like I think the plot here might be like something along the lines of like, son, throw the ball back, or something like that. And it's like maybe there's just some big monster that's in the sky, or some like just we're not. I don't have a joke in mind, okay, for this yet, but I definitely want to show you guys how this works. So let's just do let's do back of the head and see if that's enough. Uh, back of his head. Let's see if that's enough in order to try to generate an alternative for this pose here. When it came to the Sage comic, I'm going to switch back over to here really quick here. When it came to the Sage comic, you'll notice that when I in-painted this here, I only added webcomic and him, okay? And the reason why I only used the gender was because I don't want to influence the result. I want it to only image interrogate what I have. So I just wanted to emphasize, no, I don't want her there. I want him there. And using pronouns lets us control that. At least that's what I've discovered over time of doing this, is that the less you give it when it comes to doing, especially this new in-painting tool, the less you give it, the more likely it's going to rely on the surrounding imagery in order to build back the image that you have made. So for this particular use case, it's kind of like a cheat code, right? So very cool to see. I'll swap back over here and we'll open up whatever we came up with here. Okay, so he's completely gone out of these results. I'm not really too surprised about that, but we might be able to use the fact that he's gone here in order to make it even funnier. Okay, so let's go ahead and upres just one of these. It doesn't really matter which one necessarily. I'm going to say the one without the tree here. Okay, do the third one. And then I'm going to open this one up here. Okay, let's take a look. So what should we you know what? I think you know what actually works for me anyway. It's just my level of humor here. I am going to highlight this entire area here and say incoming asteroid or incoming meteor, and just just the dad and son having a great day playing ball, and then the world ends. Sure, let's just do that. Why not? It's mostly, I'm mostly doing this because his reaction there. We could also do like a griffin or something like that. Just some sort of big monstrous fantasy bird. Um, but you could see here that the results that we get tend to, one, they're all falling within the style, but we don't really have the exact thing we're looking for. So we can come now, just hit reroll again. When you reroll it in paint, it's literally going to just run the same prompt again, but only in that region. So I will use reroll a lot more often for in painting now than I do traditionally, because of the image injection stuff I was talking about earlier. Um, so let's see what we got here. Um, is that one mine? No, that one. This one's mine. Okay, cool. So you can see here that we have the startings of like a ball or something that's going on here with this. It's not really getting me the results I'm looking. It's more like a meteor impact as opposed to the asteroid or meteor flying in the air. So let's go ahead and try to make it more descriptive. So I'll come back into here. Pop up one more here. Very in paint again. And here's something I did not realize. AC did not tell me that this was going to be a feature. It saves your in paint region. That's awesome. So that means that I can come into here and be like, you know
Yeah,
what?
that's
I
huge.
actually, it's huge, because that means I can now come into here and be like, oh yeah, the color of the sky didn't change. Okay. So let's just make the color a little bit, because the thing is, since we're doing image interrogation, it's going to influence it, right? And so the results that we had before, there's a lot of blue sky. So we want to see maybe what happens if we remove any reference to that blue sky inside of here. I tried to inpaint on my stream. That's really funny. Like, put my mouse over the Streamlabs here. That's funny. Okay, all right. So I have all the blue sky highlighted here. Okay. And now I'm going to say, let's do, I know that there's like technical, there's a meteorite, meteor, asteroid, like all these have very technical reasons why they're named differently. I think meteor means it's flying. Meteorite means that it hit the ground. I forgot, but let's just do asteroid with tail. Asteroid trail. That's it. Asteroid trail, and then incoming meteor, and just see if we're able to imply this enough with that. And if I need to, I can also remove the word webcomic because it might even be funnier to do like a hyper realistic asteroid coming into these cartoon characters, right? So it is kind of funny. I'm also noticing that in the backgrounds of these, the kid is running away as well. Like it doesn't really, like, you can't really see it, but yes, there are two legs that are splayed and running on these. So let me actually zoom in here. He's right back here. He's running away. So I do think that if you just kind of in paint and fix a couple things with this, you already have a pretty funny potential here. Um, but yeah, so let's open this one up here. Cool. All right. Yeah. So we kind of have like an anime blink, right? Like a little like shining light here. But the bottom left one is so far the closest to a trail that we've gotten. We could also do like some like Junji Ito kind of like giant eyeball in the sky opening up kind of stuff too. I love his comics. But for this, let's just re-roll that and see what I get because we do see that we're getting trails. So I want to re-roll that a couple times. These Kermit the Undertaker ones that you guys are messing with, they're really fun. There we go. That's more of what I was looking for, like the bottom left, where it's like this kind of like uh there's something going on there. All right. Okay, here we go.
This is wicked
Here we
fan
go.
fiction.
Yeah, all right. This is fun. I like this one the most here. Okay. Let's open this up here. Boop boop. Okay. Oh no, it's not that one. Who did this one? Look at that. Look at the explosion one that came up here. That's awesome. But let's do this one. This is the one I was looking for. Okay, cool. All right. So you see the trail coming in and stuff like that. It's not coming in at the right perspective. It is the most fun and the most accurate to what I was asking for. All right. But it's not what I'm imagining. Okay. So let's actually force an image injection into this to make it way closer to my expectations. Because I'm kind of thinking of like apocalypse day kind of stuff, right? Like so let's go to Google here and search asteroid or incoming meteor movie images. And we're just going to find an image that kind of matches what our expectation is here. So you could see why we were getting profiles of trails because whenever you think of a meteor flying, it's going to be like as if you're in space looking at it. But we want to have something more like this where you're seeing it a bit more coming at you. But we want to find something that's pretty darn accurate to what I'm looking for. So let's see here. Up, 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 Yeah, something like this. Okay. So now I'm just going to copy this. I believe I have to check if this is a proper link here. Nope. Okay. So here's the trick. Whenever you're doing this, sometimes you're going to get these bad links that don't have a .png or .jpeg or anything at the back end of it. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're just going to pop over to Discord and you're just going to drag and drop that image or just copy and paste the image into Discord like this. Okay. And now I have a proper link if I open it up from Discord. So now I can come back to my comic here. Let's find that real quick. There we go. And go back to the original one where I hit vary region, and we're going to hit that again. And you can see it saved all my inpainting that I did before. That's amazing. And now I'm going to just include that URL in there and say apocalyptic. I'm kind of shooting at the hip here with this one, so we'll see what we get. But what should happen is it should give us something a little more like a heated trail that is behind it. And even though we're still getting a profile of the meteor, that is true. we will probably get something a lot closer to what this image reference is, and we'll see if we get anything out of that. Okay, all right, it is generating it. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, all right, yeah, it almost completely removed the sky, but you could see where I was going for here, where we suddenly have this like darkness that consumes it. I think I went way too hard on the in painting, but you can see that we're able to influence it in very dramatic ways, and it's seeing all the darkness from that original image injection, like from the image itself. So like all the darkness that's around here is now baked into that in painting. So yeah, it is something that you know going into like Photoshop and removing the backgrounds, replacing them with white or tan, or even better, reference the color that's in the generated image. So let's do that really quick. So I'm going to open this up here. This is my multi-panel here where you can see me in my Photoshop use here, or just my Photoshop being open. So I'm going to grab this like that, and then we are going to go hit new. Okay, so I have a couple tools that let me like do quick selection and stuff. So I'm going to see if that lets me kind of get away with this here. Okay. You can do this manually too. There's nothing really wrong with that. But this sort of like quick selection tool is like a lifesaver when you're talking about this, doing it quickly. So let's see if we're able to get anything. Nope. All right. I'm actually gonna do just feather, magic wand feather. There we go. And we'll just kind of start selecting a little bit of this area in here, and then I am going to copy this, hide this layer, paste this. Okay. You notice that it's still plenty of black and darkness that's here. That's fine. I'm going to pull out my pen and actually do a quick cleanup of just the edging here, just so that we're able to get something that's a little bit more like what I think will work here. Yeah. There's a little bit of lag from what is it from doing all the stream tech stuff working on top of my stuff here. So let me just kind of quickly get this done here. The only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get rid of as much of the darkness so that we can get the blue to come back from the sky. And by doing a low opacity brush here, I can basically just scrape all that off. uh, and leave us with something a little more usable. And just a moment. One of the reasons I never really got into streaming was because I never really thought people would be interested in seeing me do this kind of stuff. Honestly,
I don't
I
know.
just
I think maybe some people are interested in seeing you do this.
yeah. Well, if they want to, I do have a Twitch stream. It's twitch.tv/Victor Gnarly. But the thing about that is, a lot of that streaming stuff is I'm more of a consumer of Twitch than a streamer, but I definitely have I'm trying to like stream games and things now, so that's fun. But the main thing is just I'm not like a particularly like you know how can I say like I feel like it was an inadequacy issue. Like it was constantly me going like, okay, but what if I make a mistake? And I'm like, okay, I have to lean into my mistakes so much more, and now I feel a lot more confident about doing it. And it's mostly thanks to like Kinky and you guys like being like super
Oh,
supportive, and I
you did a
appreciate
great
that.
job.
No, thank you. Um, but I want to show you guys here essentially how we can force the image injection to look way better. We were trying to replace the sky there, but it wasn't really, it was making it very, very black. I didn't really like the result of it. And so we are now going to grab this comic, some of the results of it anyway, and I'm going to put it behind the asteroid. Okay. And the only reason I'm doing this, right, is because we could just Photoshop that. You know what I mean? Like that looks funny on its own. Like just being like, oh god, no, and having that come in and come in. But I want to show you guys essentially how we can force the image injections to look like to match color wise. So we're just going to select the color here of one of the backgrounds, whichever background is the most appropriate. And I'm going to now get rid of that and now replace it with just paint bucket. All right. And so we can now, I'm going to make this a smart object so I can distort it without ruining it. We can now come into here and just shape it how we want, how we thought it was going to come in. So I would say something like that. Okay. That's funny to me in terms of like what we're trying to go, or at least what I'm trying to go for here. So I'm going to come in here, collapse these two, marquee select the asteroid, grab copy in that, or just copy that, come back over to Discord here, and I'm gonna have to do some scrolling because you guys have been having a lot of fun, and I like seeing these. Some of these are really funny, actually. I can already tell that there's some good comedy formula that you guys are coming up with here. But the I'm gonna paste this image here so that I have a URL of it. I'm gonna come back up to here and find the original comic here. Yep, very region. Okay. And now is is there a way to actually, AC? You could probably answer me this. Is there a way to undo the like by region? Like, can you like region select and say no? I don't want like I want to remove these areas, or is it because I know I can click
Unfortunately,
them?
no.
Okay, okay. I'm just curious. I
You
just want to
can
make sure I'm
right-click
accurate.
on a region that's selected to remove it fully,
Oh, okay. That's what
but
I'm looking for.
you
Okay,
can't, like,
right click.
erase the selection.
Got it, got it. Yeah, so there's no marquee erase, but there is but yeah, okay. Cool. So I can just right click what I didn't, what I don't want to remove anymore. So boom 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 boom. And so let's just kind of let's actually go back all the way and just see if I can come in and now select where this speech bubble is. And because we have the background being represented through the color here, I am going to now grab that URL and replace everything after a funny webcomic with the URL. And we're just going to let that run on its own because I've already baked all the information I want to say with the image. The You can do a lot of communicating with Midjourney just by manipulating images before you inject them. And I say communicating with Midjourney because I do see it as kind of like a collaborative partner. It's probably going to keep your head on straight if you did, honestly. Just because it lets you be able to understand like another person might have a different take on it too. Right? So like when you send them something, they could very well have that same sort of different interpretation. So you can see we got a lot closer to what I was intending, where there's this flying orb of like hot something coming at them, right? So I'm gonna re-roll this. But we also got a blank sky, and a blank sky is coming from the fact there's a lot of blue around the asteroid. So that's pretty cool. And I did that all without actually saying that this is an asteroid. I just didn't want to influence it outside of what I was giving it, right? So let's see what we get here. There's some fun results from you guys of like the park on fire already, which is hilarious to me. Just the idea of we could actually do some panning as well and say where that asteroid comes from. You know what I mean? Like it would be funny to explore. Um, if you all remember uh shoot the alien planet of bugs where it's kind of like a big parody or
Starship
prop
Troopers?
it's Starship Troopers. Thank you so much. Yes, Starship Troopers. The plot line of Starship Troopers is basically what's happening here, where an alien force is throwing an asteroid at the human race because they're invading them. Like that's basically what's happening here. But Starship Troopers is one of those movies where they were like, look, this is a criticism of war propaganda, but people love it. They just love watching bugs getting killed. So yeah, let's make this movie. But yeah, so let's kind of dig into here. I gotta find my result. Here it is. Okay. And you can see when we re-rolled it, we're getting largely the same results of this kind of glowing orb that's in the sky, right? So I am now going to double back into here. Can hit very region again, and it saved the URLs. Like everything that I had written previously, it's in there. Okay, so then I know that I can just be like, okay, I want it to be an apocalyptic asteroid, and we'll just see what we kind of get out of that. Um, but I did not expect you guys to just go ham with this in a way that is very, hey, look, there's Victor. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Just having random inserts of like, yep, there you go. I did it. I did it. Who made this? Freaking ancient. Thank you so much. Yes, I caused the end of the world for this.
Cameo.
Yeah, this is my cameo right there. Thank you, ancient. That's hilarious, and it's all done in Midjourney. Look at that, all done in Midjourney. Now, granted, these panels need to be reversed. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be like we need to actually fix up a bunch of stuff that's in here. But it is so funny that this is already there. But I want to show the image injection really quick. I know that's a little farther back now. Yeah. So the main thing I was trying to emphasize here is we did start to get some of the streak. We did start to get this like incoming like fireball in the correct direction. And it's, that's because we're giving the wording to kind of help assist it in, in getting there. But yeah, so let's go ahead and try to I'm gonna jump over to let's AC's comic is so distracting for me right now because I'm like I really want to continue it. I really want to keep like going on it. But I'm gonna let you guys do that. Um, but I want to show at least how just the kind of like diversity that we're able to get from you guys just by panning and zooming, right? So what I'm gonna do is let's keep the premise open about like what's up here instead of an asteroid for now, just for my tangent that I'm going to go into here. Because I feel like making Victor blow up the park and stuff is something you guys are more than welcome to do and make that its own thing.
So
But
chaotic.
you invited me up on stage here. It's going to be chaotic. So like I'm a harbinger of chaos when it comes to imagery.
I was actually
So
thinking
like
Working as intended.
with my Seven Deadly Sins comic to make Victor like Wrath.
that'd be fun. I'm always down for fun cameos and things people do. But
Yes.
I want to do the zoom button for you guys really quick because this is what we here. I'll open this up here. So this is the image I'm starting off with, all right? It's just ambiguous. We don't really know what's in the sky. We don't whatever. Just the dad playing ball with his son, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit zoom 2 times, and this is what we got out of that. And I want to show you guys exactly at least how I think what's happening here because I already see an absolutely funny panel out of here. I'm gonna upres this one because this is where we're able to like suddenly expand the world is by hitting the zoom buttons, right? Of these comic panels. So we can now start to like piece this story together in a very dynamic way instead of just using pans or anything. So I'm gonna just scroll down here, get the up res of this. I want to show the top right is just too freaking funny to me of where there's clearly an impact that's happening and he's just like, son, why are you running away, something like that, and just it's just funny to me, but the face is wrong, right? Like there's all sorts of weird wonkiness there. So I'm going to hit region, and just as an example, I'm going to select his head and say him happy, and we'll see if we're able to. Oh, okay. So you'll notice that you'll get this message sometimes when doing Inpainting is select a larger region. Okay, and you can just come in and just drag a little bit bigger, and hope for the best or whatever. But you can also kind of like select smaller areas of the frame that don't really matter and see if that helps out as well. But for me, just expanding the region just ever so slightly is enough to get by. So the this who I think ancient is it keeps on going with this. Look at the little happy face that's down here. He's so happy that he just blew up the park. Just little fun things like that. We have the dad now kind of with a beard, but he definitely is like, what's going on? And he's gone in the first one. It's the kid now that is that's closer to being in the in the danger zone here. It's and then we have again a grizzled face here, but when it comes to in painting, away with a lot with a lot just by going, hey, oh look, there's an alien invasion in this one. You guys are making this is so hard to do because you guys are so good at just distracting the hell out of me with different ideas. Uh, okay, all right. Here's the plot. Here's the plot. An alien invasion comes down, and then an asteroid hits the ship. just to be like, oh, it's there are multiple apocalypses happening at the same time. Anyway, I'm a little goofing off here. But we have from and I can't really see your all's names while in stream mode. I probably should disable this honestly. But the thing is that as you guys start telling stories and you start, diverging off and referencing similar pieces of the imagery, you could start to use zoom in order to see different angles or expanding the room to get an idea of the layout changes. So like we'll go back to my zoom out here. You can see here that when it changed the layout, sometimes it removed panels entirely, like it just completely changed the borders because zoom actually affects the outer edges, basically doing an inpainting of the bordering area of the frame. I really like this impact. This bulge and blowout here is really funny to me. It's especially funny to me the ball is still in the air when it's happening. Alrighty. So I want to kind of get into at least one part of the in painting that we kind of skimmed through here. Let me actually open this up here on this one here. Okay. All right. So when it comes to like Sage in particular, whenever I was like doing injections with her, you'll notice that a lot of times that I'm trying to gain some level of like consistency of basically who I feel like she is. When Sai asked earlier about how to like establish like your own style and stuff like that. Midjourney isn't really going to do that. What Midjourney is going to do is try to give you like a median of all the things that you prompted. So like for example, with this one here, it was black pants, funny webcomic, minimalist cartoon character, her blonde. I'm so tired. And I didn't really get the like I got a lot of the I'm tired and just kind of, but she's smiling, she's there's a couple things that are off. Also, she doesn't wear a skirt. This was something that I was trying to experiment here, was trying to get it to forcibly remove the skirt, and because it changes the silhouette so dramatically, it doesn't want to do that with variation subtle. So instead, it makes a lot more sense to in paint this. So if I come into here and say, everything feels pretty good about this, but the character that I've established doesn't wear skirts, then I should be able to just highlight select this and see if we can get a pantsuit out of this. Okay. So I'm going to I'll remove all the URLs just for the start. And we're going to say black pantsuit minimalist cartoon. And again, my intention is going to be strongest at the beginning of the prompt and weakest at the end of the prompt. Okay. So look what it did. It did almost exactly what we needed it to do. And I didn't prep for this, by the way. I just kind of scrolled through. But I wanted to show you guys that like the in painting is the solution to having not necessarily consistency of art style, but consistency of your world, of your characters, of your storytelling. All of these basically work. Some of them are more timid than others. Like some of them, she's kind of like her knees are buckling in a bit, but it lets you be able to fix things. It lets you be able to make the dramatic changes that are needed in order for you to retain character retention. This looks so much more like Sage just because she's not wearing a skirt. Like that's little things like that you'll start to get into. So yeah, I'm stoked to kind of like experiment some of this stuff in terms of the comics you guys have made. So I'm gonna just get right into that. I see that Raven has continued on with her with their with awesome horns. Now her horns are growing bigger and bigger by the comic variations. By the way, very common for horns to start to exaggerate. So make sure you in paint in between to make the horns back to smaller sizes so that on future variations they don't just keep getting bigger. This happens with like certain facial features too, by the way. Like you'll notice that it's like, okay, every time I generate, every time I'm coming in, it's like the nose is getting bigger or an odd part of the anatomy is changing. That's all, at least in my assumption of it all, is coming because it's referencing itself, right? It's doing image interrogation. So yeah, just just kind of show some restraint for that, for some of the more fun. It might be funny for you, to generate all sorts of like wacky like character exaggerations and stuff, and sometimes it's acceptable, like especially if you're going like for a chibi reaction for the character. You probably want the horns to be really tiny because it's supposed to be cute, but who knows, you can do whatever you want for that. But that sort of consistency or establishment of consistency is really where you start to see like you know, true storytelling with AI imagery, in my opinion. So I'm just kind of sliding through some of these here and seeing if there's any that I can like quickly in paint to be like, you know, to tell a bit of a story here. There's some fun ones with Niji off the bat. So, oh, whoa, okay, all right. We were talking about doing like avant-garde stuff. This is certainly psychedelic, not necessarily avant-garde, but
It's actually
um,
gorgeous.
right. So what we can do here is take this one and we're gonna fix it really quick. There's some wonky hands here. So I'm just gonna come into here and I'm just gonna add. I'm actually not even gonna change anything. I think if we just run Jimi Hendrix, it'll probably be fine on that. We're not giving it any direction for what the hands are doing. If we had intention for what, like, say we got inspired by this, right, and we were like, the story we want to tell is of, I don't know, maybe Jimi Hendrix going to heaven or something like that. Or whenever I see clouds in the background, I'm like, okay, there's all sorts of different ways that we could play this out. But another thing that this actually reminds me of, which is a movie series I'll be getting into here shortly. Because my last Beyond the Valley comic, which I haven't posted to the website yet, I posted it to Reddit, but the last Beyond the Valley comic is basically Victor invading the Warner's lot. Like he now has a way into the Warner Brothers vault. Because 2 weeks ago we were talking about what if we were doing like Paramount, like what if we went into the Paramount vault and started like riffing off of movies from there. I thought it would be more fun to make a Space Jam joke, so like I'm gonna eventually try to create the Monstars of the internet, by having a Looney Tunes dedicated episode. And so like the thing about this is that I want to get to movies, like more movies, like the Stanley Kubrick riffs and stuff like that. And there's one movie that I really have trouble recommending because it has a little bit of like animal violence in it. Is a movie called The Holy Mountain. Okay, it's a movie from the 70s by Alexandro. Forgot the full name. That movie is insane. Alejandro Jodorowsky. That's it. Um, Amazing director. Insane. Like I don't think he's actually sane. But his visual storytelling is amazing, and this piece here kind of reminds me of that world that he builds in it. And I'm gonna pull that up here really quick here, just so I actually have to pull it up because there's a lot of nudity in it too, so I have to be a little bit careful here. Is that it really speaks to kind of like his style of this like balanced imagery. And I'll mute myself here so you guys can see a bit better. But if you use this guy, like the director's name, you're probably going to get a bunch of images of him, right? But The Holy Mountain is a movie that has like so much wonderful symmetry and so many wonderful like exaggerated colors and it's hypercolor. It is a hypercolor movie, and I really want to dig into this film particularly. I think that this film has a lot of potential for my series, and I want to be able to dig it because if I'm gonna attack the big five in some way, if I'm gonna go after them in a very entertaining way, I have to turn the mountain of Paramount into a character. Okay, like and I like if you're familiar with the Paramount logo, really quick. Uh, Here, this is the Paramount logo, right? And so I want to turn this mountain into the holy mountain, and I have to conquer that mountain. That's kind of where I'm going at with the series, and I'll be excited to get into there because Paramount's movie library is where I mostly want to play around in. But having this sort of intention of storytelling is super important for really the bigger scoped projects. We're having fun with the webcomics here, but I want to be able to bring in some of the themes and things of what I'm working on too, you know. So let's actually bring in this comic here. And what I'm gonna do is we'll first do a pan over and just see if we can get it to get us a little more frame there without any changes to the pan. I just want to see if it fleshes out the world a little more. And AC might be able to answer this for me. If I hit pan right and then don't change anything of the prompt, does it oftentimes try to like uh basically ignore any sort of additional intention? Like I can see that it kind of generated Jimi Hendrix again in the background here, but it's always just like expanding the frame or expanding the canvas if I don't type anything or change anything from the prompt. Is there any sort of mechanism there?
It's using half of the original image, so it's just trying to add on to that. So if it
Okay,
doesn't fully recognize it as what the prompt is, it'll try to add sometimes rather than
got it.
expanding it to like more scenery.
Got it. Got it. Got it. I was just curious if it was like a situation where if I don't change anything, is it like secretly just a null, like a hidden null, or is it just that answers my question though. Thank you.
I
But
really
you could
wish there was a hidden null option.
yeah, yeah, right. Like so I don't have to write like blank or any sort of like I use webcomic a lot because I'm making webcomics, so it just kind of goes, oh, okay, this is just gonna be a general gradient in the background. Very easy. But the main thing I wanted to pull up here was the let's do the third one here because it has plenty of empty space. Um now what I was going for here was basically to say, hey, let's try to get a balanced shot. So now he's in the center, and I basically have a panel, an individual panel that I'm happy with, right? I'm working in turbo mode, so everything's really fast. But if you really want to kind of be efficient about this, you can start in painting on an incomplete frame like we did earlier, where it's not a completed, not my intended final image, but I can continue to expand and let that render at the same time. So it's kind of like working efficiently in that regard. So now that I know that there's this kind of thumb that's floating here on the other side of this like medallion that he's wearing. I'm gonna first hit make square because that's gonna let us get our variation buttons back, and then after that square, I should be able to just inpaint the hand with a larger region to select. Let's see which one looks kind of the best here. And I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to say that it's the second one just because it's the pants are nice and consistent with the shirt. I feel like a lot of the 70s clothes were also like way more like okay with making your pants themed the
He
same
looks
way
great.
as your, he looks great. He looks great. But now we need to fix this hand properly. So I'm going to come in to hit vary region, and I'm going to always select more than you would think, honestly. The because this is true of both Midjourney and Photoshop beta and really any other in painting that I've worked with, is that the more surrounding it that you can influence the imagery, the more likely you're going to get what you want because there's subtle changes, especially the things like if you notice here, his arm, like the sleeve of his shirt, that will influence the direction of the arm if I were to only inpaint the right side of the hand. You want to say, hey, feel free to change the angle of the elbow in order to match the hand better in the future. So always select a bit more region than you would think. And and frankly, I could select the whole medallion too, but I'm just going to go with this, seeing as we know that we got at least one acceptable result out of that. And whatever the heck you guys are doing there, are you trying to change him into Frylock? Because that's what he looks like here. He's starting to look like Frylock from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So good job on that, if that was the intention. But let's go ahead and open this one up here. And look at that. It just completely hit his hand. It's like, nope, no hand. Like it's almost like he's got a surprise or whatever. So we're gonna come back and I will now do vary region. And this time I'm going to give direction to the hand. So let's do like let's say finger gun pointing. And it probably will put a gun in his hand, but we'll see what it does. And like whenever I think of like jazz hands or finger guns, like I'm thinking of gestures. I'm thinking of like fun little things that might encourage the kind of results we're looking for here. And I'll bring myself back in to say there's a reason why my hands are covered up here. You can see that my body slinks all around. It's because I'm anchored to one point because I don't have the rest of this drawing or this generated image like compartmentalized as a puppet. So yeah. But I want to take a look here and see what we got. Okay, all right, we got a thumbs up, and that's good enough for me. I'm gonna say upres the third one here. And then we're gonna turn Jimi Hendrix into a Holy Mountain character here right now. So you can see he's thumbing up. He's saying it's a good job, or whatever. If I hit pan down, what's most likely going to happen is it's going to finish the image. It's going to try to like give him feet and shoes and all that stuff, and maybe that's what we want. But for today, I want to encourage comic panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit up on the pan here, and then I'm going to change basically everything except for Jimi Hendrix because I want Jimi Hendrix to come back into these panels. So we're going to hit comic panels, Jimi Hendrix, and then I'm just going to kind of describe what sort of what sort of events happening here, right? We don't have a story, obviously. We're just kind of riffing here. But I'm going to just say like Holy Ascension or something like that. Getting correct spelling is pretty important. It'll figure it out for the most part, but it's a good idea to get good spelling. All right, Holy Ascension. Let's see what we get out of that. And then I can also directly evoke the movie too. So like I'll say um, Jimi Hendrix Holy Mountain or the Holy Mountain, and then I gotta, in order to make sure it doesn't just randomly make holy images or whatever, I'm going to actually put the year the movie was made as well. I commonly do this for my screen grab kind of prompts where I'm trying to remake movies and stuff. But like if I do Holy Mountain here, and then it's from 1973, I'm actually going to copy and paste the entire wiki title for this into Discord here. Okay, and we'll see what that gives us. And then I'm also going to do the same thing, but add the word comic panels in front of it too. Comic panels, and then Jimi Hendrix at the end, and we'll see what, if any of that gives us usable stuff here. The So yeah, I think we're gonna make this work. This is gonna be funny. Let's first look at this one. So we immediately have him with the guitar, which is not a surprise. Almost every one of the Jimi Hendrix pictures you're gonna find online is gonna be him holding a guitar. Some of these look super good. Like look at all the words that are behind. Imagine replacing all the text on this and write some manifesto like in the background. It would be nuts and make you look like an insane person. But yeah, like there's a lot of really interesting kind of compositions and stuff here, but there's not really anything that evokes exactly what I was looking for. But it might be usable. It might be some interesting things to explore. This one was just Holy Ascension, right? So now I'm going to open up the Holy Mountain film prompt, and we're gonna see a lot more like Jesus imagery, right? Because also Holy Mountain is literally a story about like a fake Jesus, right? So you have all sorts of fantastic like singular symmetry within the center of the frame, which is very common in his movies. And yeah, look at that. This one right here is basically kind of what we're looking for. He's not wearing the right clothes. There's continuity issues, but we are looking for essentially trying to make him talking to God, basically. Like like I said, it's some sort of like
It's
you know,
intense.
right. So let's do the third one here, just so that I have it. And then I want to pull up. Is there any others? Yes, there's one more here. Okay. So we also have look at this one right here. Like that's awesome. The hair is not the right size, it's not the right clothes, but I love the angle of it. And we might be able to in paint all the fixes on that. But this to me is gorgeous. Like this sort of like city in the sky kind of aesthetic. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Lots of potential there. This is definitely more like Alien Planet. We're almost getting into Fantastic Planet for talking about other movies from the 70s. And then this this here is probably the closest. Oh, here, I'll shrink turn myself off here. This is the closest to Holy Mountain that we've gotten. Where it's this kind of ascension of buildings and things like that. That's pretty cool looking. But I'm gonna upres the first one here, just so that we have that. Okay. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swap back over to my tablet here. My Photoshop's on a drawing tablet. I use a Huion 13, nothing fancy. I think this thing costs like $200. It's really not expensive. I actually have trouble with large drawing tablets. Almost all of my former colleagues use massive, mega, freaking $6,000 drawing tablets, and I prefer my little $200 one because I can pick it up and move it around and not have to worry about it, and it's more than accurate enough for what I want to do. So, frankly, if you spend that much money on a big tablet, you need to have a reason for it. And most of the creative people I work with are like kind of like big canvas folks, and I'm much more centered on smaller things. Also, the larger your tablet is, the more demanding it's going to be on your computer. So for the sake of streaming, it's actually probably best that I don't have this big Wacom in front of me right now. But what I wanted to show was that we can now take all these. So I'm going to copy that over here. Get rid of the asteroid here. Don't need that anymore. And I'm going to start building what essentially is kind of like an overview of the generated images that we have here. Okay. So um, I will come into here and now just expand my canvas real big. Like I'm talking like, 8 to 10 times as big. You really want a giant grid of these by the end of it. But what we're going to do is start to select the stuff that we like and then start to build a story before we do any in painting at all. And the reason why, outside of the hand that I fixed, I will admit I did the hand first, but the reason why I'm doing this is because I may not have to waste my time fixing a panel that I don't end up using for the final story, you know? So why take that time, you know? So now that we have, some of the ones that we have like saved into a document here, I can actually come back into, like, let's just say this one here. I like this one a lot. Okay. I could come into here and do a custom zoom. And now I'm going to switch the zoom from aspect ratio 1 to 1 to 1 2. I was originally going to make it twice as wide as it is tall. I want it to be twice as tall as it is wide. And I don't want it to zoom at all. So I switched the zoom to 1. By including comic panels at the beginning, I'm essentially encouraging it to try to turn these two panels here into the center of a comic strip. Um, and so and you'll you guys are breaking me with this crap. Like it's that's too funny. Thank you for that. Okay. Okay, let me try to continue without, like, there's too many
Everyone's so
screaming
creative.
french fries on here. Um, but I want to kind of show that sometimes we don't get the comic panels, but we definitely start to get expanding of the scenes, right? So maybe we can actually encourage the comic panels more deliberately. We can also, I mean, using pan will also encourage this quite heavily. But the reason why I'm trying to get this to look the way it is because we are not getting comic panels, right? So let's in paint a comic panel. Like, this is going to be a little nuts. So if I have to first make it square in order to get the variation region, I don't. AC probably can't even answer me on this one, but I would hope that variation region comes to pans as well. It is something that I don't like, that I have to hit make square just to get my in paint and my variations again. But I imagine that has to do with the fact that the images are so large when you pan.
Yeah. Um, when we were testing it, it was a thing for a while, but it often errored out. So There's a
That
chance
makes
it might
sense.
become a thing, but don't hold your breath.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not. I fully recognize that this is one of those things where in painting is best done when there's a limited size to the canvas, in the sense that like we're not asking it to in paint an absolutely enormous image to do image interrogation, I would imagine. So I'm aware that having a smaller image is probably better for the sake of also just Discord and everything else, getting all this stuff to work correctly. Um, but what I want to show though is we're going to upres one of these here. And they're almost all identical. You're only looking at the outer edges because that's what the make square is doing. So I am going to pick the second one. And now I could do this so easily in Photoshop, but there's a reason why I'm not doing it. And you'll see here in a moment. I'm going to hit vary region here. And then I'm going to come into here and let's just select this whole area here and come up a little bit as well. Something like that. And I'll even select some of the bottom here because I'm going to allow it to cut that off too. And then I'm going to say comic panel on its own, nothing else. And the reason why is I'm trying to encourage it to make a white bar that's in between these two pictures. Okay. If it's able to do that, then I have to just zoom out and we'll have the entire comic almost finished for us. It's just a matter of saying, hey, it's a border for a panel, or hey, it's the edge of a panel. But look at this. Look at this already. It cleaned it up. And I'll zoom in here so you guys can see better. Mute myself because this is actually really important. It cleaned up the line edging. It made it a proper panel. Isn't that amazing? It cleaned up all the ugliness of the mountains and stuff that were there and replaced it with the border of a panel. Okay. Now, what this means is that I can now come into the image, that whichever one that I like, that they're all basically identical, but except for how his feet are. So I'm going to say that we don't want him in a. They're all in robes, sadly. So we'll go ahead and just pick. Yeah, I'm going to pick the second one here. I will say that with everyone generating stuff, it is a little fast for me. So I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm clicking the wrong thing here. I just wanted to pick the one that had a nice clean line, and he's clearly standing there. There's no like cutting it off at the borders or anything like that. But now that I have this as a square thing that I can do whatever with, let's just zoom out. Zooming without doing a custom zoom is not going to let us remix it. It's not going to let us change the context of it. But if I turn this on here real quick. So if I come into here and I want there to be like a dynamic story that's being told, now that that border is there, it's telling it through image interrogation. Oh, maybe there should be more of those. Maybe there should be more panels, right? So now we're going to do what we did earlier again, and we're going to hit custom zoom. Change the zoom from 2 to 1. Change it from 1, let's do 1 to 3 this time. So it's going to be now 3 times as tall as it is wide. And because of that zoom 1, it's not going to zoom in at all. Okay. And we're just going to write comic panels to start. We'll see what that gets us. It'll probably be pure chaos, but we'll see what happens. And you can see that folks are like remixing and having fun with it and all that kind of stuff. But if I now come into here, it's most likely going to be a lot. It looks like a lot of apocalyptic sunsets, as in like it's very much like a glowing thing coming at the ground. Let's see what it does, and it's most likely just going to repeat the same imagery again because I gave it almost no direction. I just said comic panels. Okay. The main thing I wanted to emphasize was the difference between these zooms here. So I'll open this one up here. I do have to scroll. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at the differences here. So this is the one we did earlier, right? Where there's no border, there's no trim at that making panels. But now, with the one that I just generated, let's compare it. Look at that. We have now multiple panels that show up throughout this entire space. So I'll turn this off here. Okay. We have largely sunsets because it's repeating whatever it was nearby it. But then we have some really interesting like just characters always center a frame because it's seeing that in the other pictures. But look at this last panel. You could literally have Jimi Hendrix walking a lonely dirt road, and then like it's like at least in David Lynch's films, he kind of makes it so that there's just an empty place that you can go to. A lot of times, like there'll just be like a doorway that is not actually a door; it's just like an empty void in a room, and that teleports you to somewhere else. This could be that equivalent where we start off with Jimi Hendrix walking on a lonely road, right? And then some and angelic thing, some explosion, something happens. I'm always thinking of like the realistic biblical angels where it's a bunch of wheels and stuff like that. That would be fun if you got to talk to that angel. Um, but we haven't given it any direction yet. We know we're getting some idea of the kind of stuff it could make, but I want to be able to give it direction.
I'm thinking of the David Lynch Highway. What was the name of that movie? Like the Black Knight.
Mulholland Drive.
Yes, Mulholland Drive. Like I always
Right.
have that in my head.
It's the deadliest road in Hollywood. That's actually why like Mulholland Drive is you'd never drive it at night. There's too many. A lot of people drink right when they're coming back from their little Hollywood parties and all that crap. And Mulholland Drive is a very windy, deadly road in Hollywood. So it's kind of known as a it kills young people kind of road. So that's where Lynch took the name. So what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna change the aspect ratio and zoom again on a custom zoom, but this time instead of just comic panels, let's do let's actually hear from you guys. What exactly should Jimi Hendrix be doing here? Biblically accurate Muppet? Yes. He's talking to
Please.
Kermit in the
Can we
sky.
please have a biblically accurate Muppet?
Okay. Hold on.
I think it's important. Is the Muppet holding the guitar, Tina C, or Jimmy? Because
Yeah, right. I think these are all important biblically accurate Muppet. Let's just go with that and see what it does out of just for shoots and giggles. I'm not gonna say.
You don't have to censor
Oh,
yourself
look at
that
this.
much. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. It's just that understand. In order for me not to be a cursing sailor's mouth inside the stream, I imagine my niece is here. Okay, like that's the only thing that holds back all the f bombs. Is just that. But oh my god, what you guys are coming up with here, though. Look at this. Look at this.
it's a
It's
wizard.
it's a wizard. He's talking. It's a wizard, Harry. It's a wizard, Jimmy. Like that's so funny. Like this is fun. So like we can keep on going here. There's a couple like the triangle that's here, by the way. Um, I'm gonna come into here and we're gonna do a vary region on just the center of the triangle here because anytime I see like a flat triangle like that, I instantly think of the Eye of Providence. And this is a very common imagery that you see now, and it was also modernly, at least more modernly, taken of by what was that cartoon show on Disney? Where Bill Cipher, he
Gravity
is the
Falls.
Eye. Yes, Gravity Falls. Thank you. Gravity Falls is one of my favorite modern cartoons for sure.
I was
But
just opening up a tab to get an image to image prompt with.
perfect. Yes, and so you could actually insert Bill Cipher into here with an image prompt, which AC is doing right now. But let's just do a generic Eye of Providence, DMT Sun God. Perfect. Yes, thank you for. There's a lot of like you can inject just literal drugs into
Like a
AI
Marianne
imagery
thing.
and then get results like this. So that's funny, because a lot of people will tag their psychedelic art with whatever drug they were taking when they made it. So like you can kind of replicate the AI experience of doing these drugs just by incorporating like Molly or DMT or any of these other drugs that I'm not going to advocate for. But yeah, it's just that's how that works. At least that's why that's working in my opinion. So let's do Eye of Providence. But yeah, there's a lot of kids who will just be like, it's the eye from the show, like, and I'm like, no. You need to know what this actually is. You do realize that it's on the dollar, right? Look at the dollar bill; it's on there, and Yeah, it is certainly true that some of the more interesting tags are from like metadata. That's why like DVD screen grab works so well for generating stuff that you are like, I want to watch a movie. So this is like what's on the back of the DVD box is the DVD screen grabs, or like um, the snippets that are inside the DVDs and stuff like that. If you go to press releases, like if you do like what do you call it, like when you have like there will be press release photos, you're oftentimes going to get prompts that look a lot more like behind the scenes stuff if you use the pressers instead of the actual stills from it. But let's open this up here and take a look. It definitely borked up. It instead added the triangle again to the center, and yeah, we may have more circular imagery in the bottom right one here where like that, but I'm not getting the eye, right? So instead, we are going to build it through just description alone. So I will come into here and we'll hit vary region again on that. And this time, instead of that, I'm actually going to shrink the region to just this and say psychedelic eye, and then go from there. And the I oh that's right, a psychedelic eye. And that pop-up, by the way, is entirely because I'm doing this inside of VC Create, and VC Create currently has a theming of just the letter A, in order for us not to have to constantly have um, one recurring thing here. But we'll see how well that comes out. But you can see, yeah, we have some like kind of like lizardy sort of eyes, not lizard, but more like marble or glass eyes. Look at this. This is the Bill Cipher ones. So that's really cool. Really cool to see that. Any sort of reference to Bill Cipher. Here are the ones actually in painted. So up here, the top left one, you just gotta like put the eye, and then you have Bill Cipher's talking to Jimi Hendrix. You know what I mean? Like there you go. That's pretty cool. It almost seems like a speech bubble that's coming out of him too. So you could easily retrofit that to be a speech bubble if you wanted to tell it that way. But let's actually double back here really quick. And I'm going to hit vary region again. But this time I'm going to do, instead of a psychedelic eye, yeah, by the way, it made the lizard eye with the word psychedelic in there. So I wonder if it has to just do with the fact that it's like looking at animal eyes and putting them on people or whatever it is on there. But a trick that I learned from another AI user that was here, his name is Mavis, and some of you guys know him. Mavis told me that if you want to get like odd consistencies of things, especially of like eyes on faces or multiple eyes, which was his example, you could run chaos on there as well. So all of the image codes work inside of Inpainting too. Okay. So if all the results that you're getting are like extremely similar, like we got earlier, where they're all just kind of glass marble like eyes, right? So let's do a psychedelic eye, realistic, and say we'll just do realistic. But I'm gonna add a chaos of 20, just at the end there. And the idea is that by adding an element of chaos, we are essentially saying, yeah, maybe you don't make the whole thing look like a drawing. Maybe don't follow the rules nearly as much as you would normally follow. And the results that we get out of that can be completely incorrect and bad, or exactly what you're looking for. It's the most bipolar setting in my opinion. I was wondering if
Possibly
there's
weird. I haven't
weird.
played around with those things too much with Inpainting yet, but usually the weirdest stuff comes from just image prompting with things that are way off.
Right. Just going super alien with it with the image
I
prompts.
love
And
weird.
yeah, and you could see that we have a bit more of an eye, a little bit more of a red there, and we're not really getting exactly what before. It could be that the chaos is too high too, but I really want to increase the in painting region on this in order to try to get us a little closer. So um, when we're done here, this is what I want you guys to do. Not only find your favorite webcomics and stuff that we generated, and we'll try to like expand on them or clean them up and stuff like after the stream, but I would really like for you guys to take the time and actually put them together. It's one thing to just have them exist and whatever, but I want you guys to actually start assembling these comics and start building them, which is the next step of what I'm going to get into. Okay. So let's first see about where we had inpainted before, very region here. And I'm going to select the larger area, realistic eye, and then I'm going to say realistic eye, take out the word psychedelic because I think that's making everything feel very, very non-human. So let's do human eye, realistic pupils, or just realistic cornea. Did not spell that correctly. Yeah, that's how you spell it. Okay. I was definitely not a grade A math student. Sorry, grade A English. Clearly not a grade A English student if I just called it math. But yeah. Okay. So we have a realistic cornea, and then I'm gonna drop the chaos to like 5. We'll see if we get anything better out of that. Did someone prompt Deadpool? Yes, they did. Wow. Okay. Are you gonna have Deadpool fight Jimi Hendrix? I wouldn't be opposed to this.
I think I'd pay money to see that before I'd pay money to see Elon and
well, I don't think he would fight him. I would literally think I would think Deadpool would feel. I think they would hang out. I think they would just be like, "Yo, okay, can I like, can we hang out for a minute and just like, talk?" And just the idea of Jimi Hendrix and Deadpool sitting on top of this pyramid.
Stand next to your fire.
Yeah, they're like just sitting next to. They're like, okay, do you guys remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer has the existential experience with the psychedelic chili? I think it was chili. I forgot what it was, but it's the episode where he finds out that that his soulmate is his wife. Yes, here, this whole sequence here. I'll mute myself really quick so you guys can see a bit better. This sequence here, I remember so clearly as a kid. There's just so much fun visuals that you just didn't really see a lot in TV at the time. And I would love to see a Deadpool version of this where it's instead of Homer, it's Deadpool, and then he just meets up with Jimi Hendrix. That'd be really funny. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Definitely ahead of its time.
Yes. So what you could do is you can actually pause the video here, okay? And then use a snipping tool. And just grab this shot. And we're going to post this into here. Like that. And yeah, it's a little blurry. Yeah, it's a little DV, like VHS burnt or whatever. But it doesn't matter for the most part. It'll start to replicate actually that television style a little bit. But we can now come into here. And I'm going to try to double back pretty good because I don't want to get a bunch of the imagery with the triangle, with the pyramid here. So I can actually evoke this imagery in a pan or or in paint or whatever. But we can come into here and hit just paste the image and then say walking a lonely road, Jimi Hendrix. And because of the pan, it's referring to what's nearby at that half image. So if you want to refer more to your image, if for example we want the character to be consistent in this, I probably actually want to do a pan down because it's going to refer on the lower half of the image. Okay, so we'll do that again. Paste the image. Walking lonely road. Let's just do desert road because that matches the image injection better. And then Jimi Hendrix.
Comes up a little analog. I think that'd look cool.
Yeah, right? Yeah. When you stare at a word too long and it just starts to look wrong? That's what happened with me with the word Jimmy just now. Every word. I forgot what word did that for me not too long ago. It was like a 3-letter simple word, but I was like, there's no way that's
the other day.
All right. So look what it did here. With the image injection on the top, it largely took the sunset that is seen there, right? That is seen in the image, in the original image. It has that a couple times, different places here. Pretty cool, right? But if we pan down, because it's not referencing the sun, it's referencing Jimmy on the pan down, it actually just extended the frame, but it kind of kept the desert that was inside of that image injection. It kept that look, it kept the long shadows, all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. If I used any of this stuff, it would be wrong. And the main reason it would be wrong is that we've already established that the character is looking at the sun, which means the shadows pointing at the audience doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense. So instead of a desert, instead of all that stuff, we probably want to have a different image injection that we're doing. But I wanted to show you guys what that looks like. We have to force panels again. We have to do all that in order to really get it to do a different panel there. But at least for getting the point of saying, like, you can direct your pans or direct the imagery that you're referencing based on the directions that you're panning. So yeah. Is there any questions? I'm going to take a quick breather.
What if you die when you cast a shadow onto the light? I don't think that's a question that you can answer, but that was the first one I saw when I opened up the screen.
Right.
There have been
What happened
questions.
here? And while you're looking at questions, what happened here? It's like the
That's
same thing but
amazing.
crunched. No, it's like crunched. It's like it took everything that was here. Is this a variation strong? Maybe. I don't know who
Can't see the
did that.
picture up close, but I feel like it looks like I like the thing up top though.
Let me do the web focus here. So
that's a remix that removed the aspect ratio, so it squished it.
Oh, okay. So if you completely remove the aspect, wow. Okay, interesting. It squished it and it kind of made it simple. Like it made it like okay. Have you ever been to like a flea market and saw like folks selling like their the hand painted stuff and you're like like it's like you really need to challenge yourself more instead of draw the same thing 100 times over. Like it whenever I see that, I see this kind of aesthetic where it's like I don't understand how the planes work. I don't understand all this, so I'm just going to shove all this image into a bunch of tiny regions of the canvas and hope for the
like
best.
The spray painted planets.
Yes,
with like
yes.
paper scraps.
Yeah,
they're cool looking, but
it's cool. And they're fun to watch getting made. But it's it's a formula. It's a technique to it that is very, very, very repetitive and very obvious. And I see that a lot in flea markets where there'll be like, okay, if I just paint it with this specific like pattern on the head or on the hair or all that stuff, I don't have to worry about the stuff I don't like to draw or I don't like to do. You'll see that a lot with comic artists when they draw their characters constantly putting their hands in their pockets.
I almost respect the big-headed caricature drawers more when it comes to that.
Yeah, and it really does boil down to, I like this one a lot. This one is actually really cool. I think that you can tell a bit of a story there just with the empty boat. Honestly, you have a complete story here. You actually have someone who just couldn't make it. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't stand being out in the water anymore, and you just found a lonely boat, and you're like wondering who was in that boat.
I walked this lonely boat.
But there is a continuity error there, so we can just come into here, burp, like that, and I'm not going to change anything from the prompt. I'm just going to see what it does for that, and go from there.
Found a question from Abik. It says, I've created on picture like animation, but I'm happy with the character, but I want to change the background from that generated image. How can I do that?
That would require traditional solutions. Just because you can inpaint an entire background for a character, but it will always have a little bit of influence of what's around that, that image. So if you're like, I'm really not happy with how the background is compositing with the foreground, you're gonna run into some issues. But I mostly want to emphasize that whenever I'm doing like traditional solutions, I'm trying to do them at the very end of my process. I really want to see exactly how far I can get with just in painting and all that stuff, because the in painting is continuous to the brain of Midjourney. As in, if I switch to Photoshop and start in painting inside of Photoshop, you'll know that I used a different program to fix things, especially larger things. If I want to change massive elements of the panel or of the frame here, Midjourney is actually way better at that than any of the others, because we're relying on the same brain to do it. You're relying on the same imagination engine to do it. So yeah, yeah, that's my takeaway on that.
You think that this level of inpainting slash human interaction will qualify future AI art as having the human component for copyright?
I think that I think that'll be a hard road to go up. I do think it's true that it proves more human intention is behind it, and you're going to have to show that human intention, as in like, if you do actually want to try to copyright AI imagery right now, you're going to have to document everything about your workflow in order to try to prove the human element there. But there's no, I really, I doubt it, honestly, and that's just my personal opinion. You know,
Okay.
don't take it with a grain of salt here, but you are far more likely to get copyright of a visual image if you manually change the pixels in a way. Now, granted, I really think that we're going to eventually end up to where in painting is considered a form of transformation. But for now, with the current legal system and the way that it works and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people have the misunderstanding that the copyright means that you can't copyright the image. No, no, no. You could still try. The thing that's mostly been concluded at this point is that Midjourney itself as a AI cannot, and as a company, cannot copyright the stuff that it generates simply because it generated it. I was really happy with the result that happened from creative machine legal output. Now, I'm not a lawyer, obviously. You're talking to a goddamn artist, okay? Like I'm not a lawyer. But I will say this.
Just
Sorry, I
read
cursed there.
questions off a screen.
I just read questions off the screen. But like the thing is that the main precedent that's good that's been set is that companies that make AI imagery output, like generators like this, they can't say, "Hey, you used one of our images. We're going to sue you now." They can't own that copyright just because an AI generated the image, and essentially. I was very much against the Creative Machines lawsuit, as in like I'm against the idea of a robot of robot company owning everything the robot makes by the consumers. It's kind of like as if like Facebook or any of the social media sites for like, oh yeah, all that art that you uploaded, yeah, we may own like the distribution to it, you know, through this platform, but if it's required that you sign a document that says we own this document every time you upload, no one would use Facebook, right? It's essentially like I don't want to see AI imagery go down that route, and I'm really glad that we're at a point right now where copywriting still requires human authorship, and I don't think that's going to change, or should it change? So I hope that answers that question. And this is something very common that you're going to see with the what quote unquote mid journey comic style, especially the web comic style, is that it does a really fun job creating like the facial expressions and stuff, but the actual characters themselves are not really fleshed out in a way that makes sense. Like his glasses don't make sense, the eyes don't make sense in some of these. Like if I kind of swipe over to here real quick here, like you'll notice like there's some parts that feel right, that feel wrong about this, but the thing is that if you look at traditional characters, like traditional Western comic styles, particularly Western minimalism, as it's called, Western minimalism or cartoon minimalism really
I'm gonna look at the
is
bottom.
it, what?
Something on the
Sorry,
bottom that you have to kind of see, and I love it.
on the
The
bottom here.
bottom of the chat.
Hey, this one.
The psychedelic one.
Yeah,
Oh my god, I love that so much.
that's fun. That's great.
Gave you Jimmy, and he
Um,
put you with the yes.
Yes, that's great. And there's some really fun results that you can kind of get out of doing pans and blends, or sorry, pans and zooms and stuff, and then injecting the images or new images into there. Um, Functionality, not a ton of it, because I personally have a lot more intention when I'm trying to do this stuff, and when I'm doing exploration, I'll play around with it. But I'm not really getting a ton of results that I like when I do like pans. Instead of I've been doing getting a lot better results out of doing character sheets with zooming and panning. But in terms of like, you know, the storytelling functions of pans, particularly, there's a lot of potential there. Um, but yeah, I guess the thing I want to emphasize here though is about the comics. When you see a particularly like Western minimalism, there's all sorts of like subjective elements to it that will look very odd when you randomize them. Like I'm gonna show this example here. You notice how the kid kind of looks like he's broken, like there's something a little bit wrong with him, and it's kind of hard to tell what it is right off the bat. But I can tell you, his nose is faced the wrong way, his mouth is faced the wrong way, but basically the face is the wrong direction, but the character's in the correct direction. No way Midjourney can really figure that stuff out without like just deduction, right? Like without coming. So we could either in Paint, we could fix all that, but I want to show you guys exactly what I mean here. So if I come into here and I'm going to open up Photoshop here, just to do a quick little inversion here. What I most commonly see Midjourney getting wrong about this comic style, particularly minimalism, is the fact that it just gets the directions of things wrong. The eye lines are always wrong, like that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to show you just how much better this is going to look almost immediately by just flipping a couple assets here. So I'm just going to come into here, grab just the face, or sorry, just the mouth and the nose, copy that over, paste it, and then transform and flip that horizontally. But the idea of what I'm trying to show you guys here is that a lot of the mistakes that you see are not actually mistakes, they're orientation errors. They're errors of the direction of things, because there's no way that Midjourney understands intent, like the intent of why a character might be looking at another character. You'll most likely, the number one thing you'll have to draw manually, even with Inpainting, is the eye line. It is the direction that the characters are looking. Because without that, you're essentially randomizing everything, and there's nothing that you can really pull away from that. At least nothing that Midjourney is able to go, oh, okay, I understand this character needs to look at this character. Maybe that changes with storytelling tools coming in the future, but I definitely am aware of that. So like if we come into here now, clean this up just a little bit, I want to come in here and turn both of these off, and then we are going to just remove the mouth entirely. I'm just going to do this quickly with a fill here. And it gets us closer. Now he has no nose or whatever, and I can just come into here and select the last bit here and hope for the best. But I do want to show something really quick, which is why for like Inpainting, no matter what program you use, it's going to be useful for this kind of stuff. So if I actually go back and show this really quick, you notice how it took basically carving for me to fix that earlier. Now I have generative fill, so I can just click a button and without writing anything. This is why image interrogation, for both Midjourney and Photoshop are so important. It's able to look at the context of the image and go, look at that. Absolutely perfect result from the first thing. And it just comes from context, understanding context of like, oh, look at that mouth, perfect mouth. And we could inpaint all this stuff inside of Midjourney, but I just want to clean that up here just so you guys can see this. Look how much better that looks. Just because the mouth and the eyes, and the nose are in the correct direction. I didn't change anything else about this image. But now the character is in the like looking at the sunflower. There is no weirdness to it, and it has everything to do with the relationship of the subjects, of the characters. So your Inpainting will more likely focus on fixing large errors and problems. But when it comes to actually making this like art, in my opinion, it's going to be fixing eye lines. It's going to be fixing all the little things, hands, that kind of stuff. To really tell this, it would be really funny to be like, oh, what a beautiful sunflower. And then it's like, I wonder, if only sunflowers could talk. And then it's all just cursing at the child. You know what I mean? Like I hate you. like just angry, bitter sunflowers. I think that's funny. These are the kind of ideas that end up as the foundations for my comics. So I love this. This is almost like a, if there was a nightmare on if there was it's the movie where he goes from Halloween to Christmas with the skeleton.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is it Nightmare Before Christmas? It is. Okay. All right. Yes. So I was
It's
just
not Nightmare on Elm Street. It's Nightmare Before
no. Okay.
Christmas.
Got it. Got it. Yes, 2 Nightmare movies though. Okay, cool. What if there was a fall version of Nightmare for Christmas? Like a movie that's like they don't go 2 months or whatever into the future of time. They go like a month and a half in the past or whatever. And I know Halloween is known as like the end of fall, you know? So like it would be interesting to see like like a fall version of that world that's kind of told through this just that's what this reminds me of
I've seen a
anyway.
lot of Joan and Vasquez in that too.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. But yeah, there you go. Very fun. I like this a lot. Is just like yay. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave this here. That's creepy. That's just creepy. There's a lot of creep factor that happens with AI imagery, and I really do actually appreciate it because it just makes me uncomfortable, and it makes me like inspired to like explain why it makes me uncomfortable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this is just cute, but this is like if I would have imagined a like I don't know, like a Watership Down sort of like movie that's way too depressing for kids but was advertised to kids,
Yes.
like this is the kind of imagery I'm imagining there. It's just kind of horror. All right, yeah. Is there any other questions actually?
Did you ever see Milk and Cheese? That's what the bread-headed one reminds me of a little bit. The comic book Milk and Cheese.
Yes, I like milk and
Dairy
cheese.
products gone bad.